this is kind of a strange question, but sometimes I would think these guys that are in the business of just doing a low ball paint job, and they cut out a whole bunch of steps. The difference between a low quality, skipping all these things can be what? Twice as expensive or 3 times as expensive? I mean,
Well,
what's the
down the
difference
road.
between a very high quality and a low quality in terms of what a bid? Everybody making their cut.
Right, right.
What could be a variance?
It could vary by 3 times.
3 times.
Oh, yeah.
So a cheap guy, no, a low bid could be $1,000,
Right.
and a high bid would
high
be
quality.
$3,000, and they both make exactly the same amount of money per hour.
Right.
But the quality is that different.
Well, let's an example. A room, and we're going to paint the walls.
All right, we're going to do a room.
We'll-
You're bidding only on a room.
Right. So the first thing is getting the wall ready to paint, and that's taking the time to go around and fill in all the little holes. Now, most painters say they do that, and they'll go around and they'll spackle them really quick. But what happens is they're not paying attention to. They miss it. They'll get the obvious ones. What they'll do is they get the big obvious holes, and they'll skip the little ones and actually think the paint's going to fill that hole in. Okay, and I've had painters tell me that. You just don't fill the little ones because the paint's going to cover it. Well, we fill everything. We cover every single little hole. Then we take the time to sand that wall, and I'm not talking about just sanding the spot that you filled, but you sand the entire wall, ceiling to floor.
Why would you do that?
Well, it prepares the surface to paint.
So it adheres better?
Well, yeah, it adheres better. For the second thing it does, it knocks off all the boogers on the wall. What the painters call a booger. It's a piece of old paint, a little
A
flake, or maybe a grain of sand or something got stuck in the old paint. But what happens if something got spilled on the wall, a Coke or something, and someone washed it off? Well, dog hair got stuck on it. Well, I mean, there's all these things that get stuck on a wall.
And I've seen it.
So you've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you paint it in. And
Absolutely.
Then you
And
can't
then
get it
you cut this hair. What the heck is that?
Yeah, what about that hair? So sanding the wall top to bottom. It's called a pole sand. We take about 120 grit paper and we sand the whole thing up top to bottom. And then we'll prime it, get the proper primer on there. We'll tint it to the color that you need, that we're going to paint the wall. Then we will sand it again. It takes a second sanding. Okay.
2 sand.
Oh, yeah. You sand between every coat.
You mean you sanded it, you painted it one time,
Yeah,
and now you're
sand
sanding
it again. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
And if you're going to go 3 coats, you sand again.
Why would you do that? Why would you sand it?
Well, because it evens all the uneven spots out. It knocks off, say, maybe you had something in that paint and it got a little booger in there somewhere.
Huh.
Or it also helps that next coat of paint adhere better. Paint, well, first of all, don't ever paint on a glossy surface. It has to be sanded. The paint needs something to bite to. And the sanding creates little grooves in it, and that's you'll get a much better finish, a much smoother finish.
Okay, so a guy does a low bid,
He won't ever
and he just paints right over the glossy thing.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
even know it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
The homeowner, the guy never.
know. Yeah. And it will, if something glossy, it'll flake off in a year easy.
Wow.
So the difference is that we're taking a lot of time up front in getting the surface ready to paint. And then we'll take, you make sure the floor is covered properly. We don't just go ahead and paint. No, I don't drip. I don't make drips and just paint anyway. If you are not going to paint the trim in a room, let's say, they're just going to paint the walls and we're not painting the trim. A lot of painters will just put a drop cloth down and just paint, roll it. Mm-hmm. Well, that creates a lot of, the roller creates a lot of little tiny flakes called overspray.
Mm-hmm.
It will actually spot that trim. Now, from standing up, you can't see it. When you're standing up and looking down, but get on your knees and try and wash that baseboard off, and there's all these little flakes of paint on it. And so what I do, what a high-performance paint job would do, is run a piece of tape to protect the trim. We do not use tape to cut a straight line.
Okay.
Okay. The tape is basically used for protection. We actually use a steady hand and a nice brush to make a straight line. But the actual protection of the baseboard, you put right across the top of a piece of tape that sticks out about 1.5 inches, and you roll, all that flake comes down on top of that tape, and it protects the baseboard. Those are just little secrets, but it takes time to do that, and it takes, a roll of tape is $6.
Yeah, so another expense.
Yeah,
so all the time
Oh yeah,
to pay the guy, and then all the material.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And that's just one of many, many.
Oh, that's just a very simple application. Exactly. Yeah.
And you probably have tons and thousands of different things.
Oh my.
It's like sitting in a chair and thinking about all of them. You wouldn't possibly come up with all of them.
No.